Greetings and salutations. So, the rest of the world may not have heard about this, but here in southeast Queensland we've been having this really annoying little tropical cyclone called Alfred romping around creating havoc, and one of the things it created havoc with was my everything schedule, but including my reading schedule. So, I've got a whole backlog of books that I've read and couldn't review because there was no power and no internet. But I'm going to start with The Monsters Room. So sometimes when you've got a tropical cyclone howling in the background and no light and no internet and your fridge has been off for a day and you know that the caffeine situation is going to be bad soon, the best thing you can do for yourself is a nice, cheerful little kids book with morals and challenges and other things that we know are going to be well resolved. So, The Monsters Room by Hope Campbell. Apparently its original title was Peter's Angel, and it has got the most spectacular illustrations by Lilian Obligado, which I'm going to show you one of right now. Now, I'm not saying I got it specifically because of its beautiful illustrations. Some of these really amazing old kids books I'll just buy because I know that they're slowly dying and being thrown away. But that artwork, that is just amazing. It's almost too good to even call it an illustration, and I was kind of blown away. No, I was absolutely blown away. Okay, so Monsters Room is a fun little story in which our main protagonist is Peter, and him with his best friend Obi and Sal, who lives in the same apartment block as Peter, they started a monster club in Peter's bedroom. Because Peter loved monsters and he had all these monster magazines and he had monster posters and everything, so they had this club. Unfortunately, the monsters end up being real. But they're only real so that Peter can see them. So he's being followed around by monsters. They tickle him and they trip him in the street. They invade his classroom and are making him fail at school. And Obi and Sal are still just as enthusiastic about monsters as they ever were. And he doesn't know what he's going to do. Then he notices that the only time that the monsters don't follow him in school is when he goes into chapel. So he decides he's going to build himself an angel as protection against the monsters. Like I said, great illustrations. I love this one here of Peter being followed home from school by a whole heap of monsters that only he can see. And there's one later on where, again, the artwork is spectacular. Consistently spectacular, and the children look consistently the same character, which is impressive. Anyway, here we've got Peter. He's trying to build an angel from an old barrel and stuff that he's got in his arts and craft cupboard, and there's a monster leaning over him, laughing at him, telling him that it will never work. This particular monster is called Wolf Demon. Anyway, Peter perseveres. He tells his friend Obi and Sal that he doesn't want to be part of the monster club anymore, and they're horrified, and all this stuff is happening. But it's more than the single story. So the other story, as you can see here, has to do with Peter's mice. But Peter's mice aren't really his, they're wild mice, who accidentally ended up in the city when they hitchhiked a ride on a grocery truck, and they don't like his monster fixation, but they don't first realise that the monsters are real because they can't see them. Anyway, when they can't see them either. But when the mice do realise that the monsters are real, they decide they've got to do something about them. And Eliza and Eben, the mice, go running around the town, I'm pretty sure it's New York, looking for a church or a cathedral where they'll find an angel that will help Peter. So, you've got all these different storylines, and there's some pretty good themes. If you are heavily anti-religious overtones, well, there's a lot of religious overtones, because angel protecting you from monsters, which could be demons, whatever. But there's a lot of other really good themes. There's the themes of a child who's trying to solve his own problems. There's a theme of him being strong enough to stand up against his best friend who thinks that angels, what is the phrase? Is a great phrase. Sissy chickens or something like that. You've got Sal, who's not the primary character, but she's one of the three primary characters. She's a young girl who wants to grow up to be a brain surgeon. And there's an interesting little feature of something she says in there that makes me wonder whether it might appeal to people who are early into, feminism or gender diversity or something. Because there's this point where Sal's trying to make a brain for Peter's angel, which she thinks it needs, and she wants to make it a good brain rather than a bad brain. She's thinking if only she knew more about them. The dictionary sure didn't tell her much, just messenger. What kind of a messenger would he be? Why am I saying it's a he angel? Sal asked herself. Maybe it's a girl. Are angels girls or boys? The dictionary didn't say anything about that. Maybe they're in between, like me. That's on page 59. Now, I think that's interesting. I'm not quite sure what Sal is saying there. Is this young prepubescent girl already decided that she isn't quite a girl and isn't quite a boy? Or is it because she's smart and she wants to be a brain surgeon, and back when this was published in 1976, you still needed to have that little twist in if a girl didn't want to be something traditional? I don't know. But it's interesting, and I think other people would be interested in that little bit too. Okay, here we've got Eben and Eliza the mouse scurrying for the basement door. And you've got this wonderful side and bottom page illustration. You just don't see illustrations like that very often anymore. So that was exciting. And there are... what else have I found in here? Look, it's a cute little fun book, essentially. I mean, honestly... Oh, here we've got the final battle. When the mice find the perfect angel, which is Angel Michael, who is a fighting angel, and he's comes there to get Peter's monsters, but then these other monsters join in, and Peter's monsters say, hey, we weren't so bad after all. These are the monsters you could have had, and that would have been really scary. And then at the end, Peter moves on from his monster phase and gets on with life. And the story arc of the mice also is completed. Cute little book, a lot of fun. There are elements here that are darker than you will often see in kids' books today. I don't think The Monsters Room would be reprinted these days without a couple of edited bits, because it seems to me that kids' books have lost a certain edge to them, and this has got edges. It's got the sort of things that if you were reading it to a small child, you would be able to stop and explain things about life. And I think that if you take those edges out of kids' books, then the adult who one hopes is reading them to them doesn't have that opportunity to engage with the child as much about the edges in life. And life has edges, as we all know. Anyway, cute little kids' book. Don't expect that it will be everyone's cup of tea, but I really enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and read good books.